You don't earn a name like Tank by accident. You earn it with impact, with violence, with a kind of frightening precision that makes even elite fighters second-guess their courage. Gervonta Davis has built his career on that kind of fear. Not the loud, theatrical kind that lives on social media, but the cold, calculated fear that creeps into an opponent's mind the moment they feel his left hand brush against their guard. 4 years now, he has sharpened that weapon, refined his timing, and elevated his ring IQ to the point where every fight feels less like a contest and more like a slow countdown to disaster for the man across from him. Back in 2019, when he met Ricardo Núñez, Davis was still building his legend. Núñez came in confident, riding a wave of momentum, hoping to turn that night into his breakthrough. But from the opening exchanges, it was clear that Davis was operating on a different frequency. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't forcing the knockout. He was studying, probing with that effective jab, dipping to the body, testing reactions. And then, almost casually, he began to let the left hand go with authority. The mismatch became obvious. What looked competitive on paper dissolved into a showcase of timing and power. Davis didn't just win. He passed the test with chilling ease, reminding everyone that his rise wasn't hype. It was inevitability. Then came a far more seasoned challenge in Yuriorkis Gamboa, a former world champion with a resume that demanded respect. Gamboa had shared the ring with elite names before. He wasn't supposed to be intimidated. Yet as the rounds unfolded, Davis began walking him down with clinical patience. Straight lefts snapped Gamboa's head back. Uppercuts split the guard. Body shots thudded with intent. Even when Gamboa showed flashes of resistance, even when he landed counters of his own, Davis adjusted. He conserved energy, measured distance, and waited for the right openings. By the championship rounds, the accumulation was undeniable. Knockdowns followed. The finish arrived brutally. It wasn't just a stoppage. It was a statement that the young champion could break down veterans with both brains and brawn. But if there was ever a night that elevated Davis from star to spectacle, it was against Leo Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz was respected, disciplined, and fearless. He wasn't there to survive. He was there to challenge himself against what many believed was the most dangerous man in the division. For several rounds, he pressed forward, throwing volume, attempting to test Davis in deeper waters. The crowd buzzed with tension. Then it happened. The counter-left uppercut, compact, unseen, perfectly timed, exploded through the middle. Santa Cruz never saw it coming. In an instant, the fight ended in one of the most devastating knockouts of the era. It was the punch you don't see that does the most damage, and Davis delivered it with terrifying finality. When he jumped to 140 pounds to face Mario Barrios, questions surfaced. Would the power carry up? Could he handle the size and reach? Early rounds were competitive. Barrios boxed smart, used his length, and forced Davis to think. But that's when Tank becomes most dangerous. He adapts. He reads patterns. He starts investing in the body. And once he finds the rhythm, the eruption comes. A right hook detonated for the first knockdown. The dynamic shifted instantly. Barrios fought bravely, even landing heavy shots of his own, but Davis's precision proved overwhelming. Another knockdown. Then another. By the time the referee stepped in, Davis had silenced every doubt about his power at the higher weight. He didn't just carry it up, he amplified it. The tension was different against Rolando Romero. Trash talk filled the air. Confidence bordered on arrogance. Romero brought awkward angles and unpredictable bursts. For a few rounds, it was a chess match, heavy with respect for each other's power. Davis moved laterally, patient, eyes locked, waiting. And then, in a blink, the counter left hand cracked through. Romero crumbled. Just like that, the bravado evaporated. It was another example of Davis's ability to remain composed under psychological warfare, only to end matters with ruthless efficiency. Hector Garcia tried to prove he belonged at that level. He boxed with ambition, looked for opportunities, and even had moments of success. But against Davis, moments aren't enough. The margin for error is microscopic. Tank's power, his ability to change tempo mid-round, to flip a fight with a single punch, gradually overwhelmed Garcia. Once again, the result was the same. Another opponent who discovered the gap between good and elite. Then came the mega fight with Ryan Garcia. Speed versus power. Hype versus history. Garcia started fast, pressing, throwing combinations, trying to unsettle Davis. For a moment, it looked chaotic. But Davis thrives in chaos. He slipped, countered, and delivered a sharp knockdown with a missile-like left. And when the decisive moment arrived, it wasn't a headshot that ended it. It was a perfectly placed body punch to the liver, subtle yet lethal. Garcia took a knee, his body shutting down despite his will. It was a masterclass in precision. The kind of finish that proves Tank isn't just a headhunter, he's a surgical striker. Even against slick movers like Frank Martin, who banked early rounds with activity and footwork, Davis never panicked. He stalked. He invested in the body. He read the rhythm. And when Martin lingered just a fraction too long in range, the left hand landed with frightening clarity. Down he went. Another script written by Tank, another highlight added to a reel already bursting with violence. That's what separates Gervonta Davis from the rest. It isn't just the knockouts. It's the patience before them, the intelligence, the way he allows opponents to believe they're solving the puzzle, only to spring the trap at exactly the right moment. He doesn't waste motion. He doesn't chase recklessly. He waits, calculates, and then unleashes something that changes everything in a split second. Fight after fight, the pattern remains the same. Different styles, different personalities, different levels of hype. The outcome rarely changes. The left hand finds its mark. The crowd erupts. Another contender learns what that nickname truly means. Tank isn't just a puncher. He's a finisher. A closer. A man who has turned precision violence into an art form. Now, the question turns to you. Out of all these terrifying performances, Santa Cruz's shocking uppercut finish, Barrios at 140, Romero's collapse, Ryan Garcia's body shot breakdown, or the clinical destruction of Frank Martin, which moment stands above the rest? Which knockout made you jump out of your seat? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's settle it. And if you love breakdowns of boxing's most brutal nights and the stories behind the sport's biggest stars, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next deep dive into the rise of greatness.